Hello, I'm Carrie Snyder, professor of English and a member of the Ping Institute for the Teaching of the Humanities. I'm here today with Professor Jones, who is a Poe scholar and also a professor of English. And we are producing one of a series of short videos sponsored by the Ping Institute, designed to engage with our colleagues and talk about the importance of literature and history to the human experience. So we're here today to talk about Edgar Allan Poe's short story, Masque of the Red Death. Welcome, Paul.
Yes, Edgar Allan Poe, as most of you probably know, is one of America's most famous writers of horror fiction. And this story, it's a very short story, depicts in an unspecified time and place. It seems like it's a European kingdom, maybe somewhere in the Middle Ages. A prince named Prospero has decided in the midst of a plague called the Red Death, to throw a party for 1,000 of his best friends. And essentially the story just sets up the party planning, the decorations, the dancing, the music, all to kind of set up one scene at the end of the story where the disease Red Death, which he was so certain that he had secluded himself from, and his friends had secluded themselves from, comes to the party. And so the whole story kind of sets up this dynamic where this powerful person, with all the benefits of his wealth and status, believes that he is not vulnerable from the disease that's affecting the outside world, and then he learns quite differently with the appearance of someone who looks like it's a member of the costume party, a guest at the costume party, dressed as Red Death or a victim of the Red Death, is actually Red Death itself. And the story ends pretty pessimistically, with all the guests one by one dying, and this proclamation of the story's last sentence, and darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all. And that's how this story ends.
Wow, okay, so it's pretty powerful. Can you tell us what's the message?
Well, people certainly have read the story in different ways, but I think most commonly it's seen as a critique of anybody who believes that they, because of status or wealth or power or connections, somehow buy themselves invulnerability or immortality from kind of the matter of fact diseases that we all are vulnerable as mortal beings. And so it definitely has been read or understood as an attack on denial, an attack on kind of believing you're special because of things that really only have social value, not health value. And so that's definitely kind of the most typical reading that people do of this story.
So here we are in the midst of a global pandemic. So could you talk about the relevance of the story today?
Yes, it does seem that this story gets evoked very, very frequently during times of epidemic or times of contagion, times of plague, and it definitely has been used quite a bit over the last year as editorial writers have pointed out kind of similarities to kind of aspects of our contemporary situation, especially the denial, people who don't believe that they should quarantine or practice social distance or wear masks, because they somehow see themselves as immune, or they even deny the reality of it and assert it's a hoax. So definitely when we've seen kind of dynamics of people kind of practicing that denialistic belief that they themselves are vulnerable, it seems to really kind of recall the dynamics of this story, where the privileged and the wealthy really did think that they didn't have to follow the same precautions that other people have to or are told to, and often they're surprised when they find themselves coming down with the same illnesses that everyone else understands themselves to be vulnerable to.
Thank you very much, Paul. I enjoyed hearing more about Poe, and thank you to our readers, our listeners out there. And if you're interested, be sure to look for other short videos by the Ping Institute engaging with the relevance of the humanities. Thank you.
Thanks.